Greetings, viewers, and welcome to tonight's deep dive into the ever-shifting sands of global economics and political strategy. I'm Emily, and tonight, we're dissecting a statement that sent ripples, perhaps even shockwaves, through international trade circles. Former President Trump, speaking from the White House just days ago, uttered words that have analysts scrambling to recalibrate their forecasts. I don't want to have tariffs too high, because at some point people will just stop buying, and we can even bring them down, and people will spend more. These words, seemingly straightforward, are anything but in the context of the protracted and often volatile trade conflict between the United States and China. For months, no, years, we've witnessed a tit-for-tat escalation of tariffs between the world's two largest economies. A trade war ignited and fueled by the very figure now suggesting a potential de-escalation. Analysts are interpreting this statement as a possible signal, a subtle yet significant shift in U.S. policy, hinting at a desire to, perhaps, finally, bring an end to the retaliatory tariff battles that have defined the economic landscape for the past few years. Let's rewind for a moment to grasp the sheer scale of this trade war. Since the commencement of his term, the former president initiated 3 major rounds of additional import tariffs on Chinese goods, and in a particularly aggressive move, retaliatory tariffs were doubled not once, but twice, within a mere few days. The cumulative effect is staggering. Reports indicate that the total import duties imposed by the U.S. on China under the former president's administration have reached a staggering 145% on all products, and an even more punitive 245% on select goods. These aren't mere adjustments. These are seismic shifts in the cost of goods, impacting businesses and consumers alike. China, as expected, did not remain passive in the face of these escalating tariffs. Beijing responded in kind, unleashing a barrage of countermeasures with each tariff hike from Washington. These responses ranged from imposing equivalent import tariffs on American goods to strategically restricting exports of crucial metals, a move designed to pinch key U.S. industries reliant on these resources. Furthermore, the specter of economic retaliation loomed larger as China threatened to place U.S. companies on an unreliable entities list, a designation carrying the potential for severe operational and reputational damage, and hinting at export restrictions, further tightening the screws on U.S. businesses operating within or trading with China. This wasn't just a trade dispute. It was a high-stakes economic chess match, with each move calculated and potentially devastating. Now, let's turn our attention to the immediate impact on American consumers, the everyday people caught in the crossfire of this economic war. Over the past couple of weeks, a palpable sense of anxiety has gripped American households, fueled by fears of impending price hikes in the wake of Washington's escalating import tariffs. Consumers have begun to stockpile goods, a primal response to perceived economic instability. This isn't just about luxury items or discretionary spending. This is about the essentials, the staples of daily life. Beyond electronics and household appliances, reports are emerging of Americans hoarding essential goods, preparing for a potential surge in the cost of living. Consumer Edge, a firm specializing in tracking consumer behavior, has documented a dramatic surge in sales of shelf-stable goods since April 2nd. The numbers are stark, revealing the depth of consumer concern. Canned vegetables, for instance, saw a sales jump of 23%. Instant coffee, a morning ritual for millions, climbed by 20%. Even ketchup, a ubiquitous condiment, became 16% more expensive, reflecting the ripple effect of tariffs across the supply chain. But the impact isn't limited to pantry staples. Earnest Analytics, another data firm, paints a picture of broader consumer reaction. Consumer spending at Apple stores, a bellwether for discretionary income and consumer confidence, surged by an astonishing 20% in the period between April 2nd and April 7th, compared to the preceding average. This wasn't just an Apple phenomenon. Other major retailers, like Home Depot and Belk, also experienced significant upticks. recording increases of 10% and 18% respectively. This surge in spending, while seemingly positive on the surface, could be interpreted as a short-term anomaly, a preemptive buying spree driven by fear of future price increases, rather than a sign of robust economic health. Is this a sustainable trend, or a temporary blip before a potential downturn as consumers tighten their belts in the face of higher prices? The question hangs heavy in the air. The former president's recent statements extend beyond mere tariff adjustments. He openly acknowledged ongoing discussions with China regarding import duties. According to him, Beijing has reached out numerous times, initiating contact since the U.S. escalated tariffs to the 145% mark across all Chinese goods. While details of these communications remain shrouded in secrecy, the very admission of dialogue suggests a potential shift in approach, a possible softening of stance. The former president expressed optimism, stating his belief that the U.S. will make a very good deal with China. But what constitutes a good deal in this context? And for whom? Is this a genuine attempt at de-escalation? Or a strategic maneuver with hidden objectives? The world watches, waiting for clarity. Adding another layer of complexity to this intricate geopolitical dance is the ongoing saga of TikTok's U.S. operations. The former president linked the fate of the proposed sale of TikTok's U.S. business to the resolution of trade disputes. We have a solution for TikTok, but that's going to depend on China. We're going to hold off on the TikTok sale until we see what happens with China, he declared. This linkage, seemingly unexpected, raises more questions than it answers. Is TikTok, a popular social media platform, now being used as a bargaining chip in broader trade negotiations? Is this a strategic leveraging of a high-profile asset to gain leverage in economic talks? Or is there something more at play, a hidden agenda linking technology, trade, and geopolitical power? The implications are far-reaching and deeply intertwined. China's official response to the tariff rhetoric has been, shall we say, less than enthusiastic. A spokesperson for the Ministry of Commerce dismissed the tariff numbers game, stating they will not be bothered. Analysts interpret this as a signal that China may be unwilling to further escalate retaliatory tariffs, perhaps recognizing the point of diminishing returns in this cycle of escalation. However, the ministry spokesperson also issued a firm statement, asserting that if the U.S. genuinely seeks to resolve issues through negotiation, it must abandon its extreme pressure approach. They emphasize the need for dialogue based on equality, respect, and mutual benefit. This is not a conciliatory tone, but rather a firm stance, demanding a shift in U.S. negotiating tactics. China is signaling its willingness to talk, but on its own terms, and with a clear expectation of respect and equitable treatment. Adding further perspective, Dan Wang, director for China at Eurasia Group, offered a crucial insight into the economic realities underpinning this trade war. He pointed out that the profit margin for China's export sector typically ranges between 30 to 40%. This means that tariffs exceeding this margin, while certainly impactful, may not fundamentally alter the economic calculus for Chinese exporters, who might be able to absorb or mitigate the impact through various means, including currency adjustments or internal cost optimizations. According to Mr. Wang, tariffs beyond this threshold won't make a difference in fundamentally altering China's export strategy. This raises a critical question. If tariffs beyond a certain point are ineffective, what is the true objective of these escalating trade measures? Is it really about trade balance? Or is there a deeper, more strategic game being played, perhaps involving technological competition, geopolitical influence, or something else entirely? Could this apparent shift in the former president's rhetoric be a tactical retreat? A calculated pause to reassess strategy in the face of mounting economic pressures and perhaps unforeseen consequences? Is the consumer stockpiling, the rising prices, the anxieties of American households, finally forcing a reconsideration of the trade war strategy? Or is this a more elaborate maneuver, a feigned de-escalation to achieve a different set of objectives, perhaps related to the TikTok deal, or broad